An ancient battlefield. That is what a 30 requested a few months ago, and after building in the background constantly for many months, I'm able to present it today. Check the video out. Hi, it's Muffin. In today's video, I'll be sharing an old battlefield that I made. It was requested by a 30, and so the first thoughts that came to mind were to make something similar to the Dead Marshes from Lord of the Rings, or something more similar to a medieval battlefield with skeletons and bones scattered about. But as I saw the terrain and more ideas came flooding, it eventually grew into its own build, and that being this central kingdom of the ancient world that still stands today as a monument of the ancient times, and yet it is completely abandoned, lost to history, and is completely overgrown with vegetation. It is fascinating how a powerful kingdom can fall. This build features this central castle, the residence of the ruler of these lands, the king. I'll be talking about where this build is positioned relative to the others in this world, and what significance it plays to the world at large, and also how it came to be destroyed. The castle is the centermost point of the kingdom, almost observable from any location. And the kingdom in its heydays would have been expansive and technologically advanced for its times and architecturally brilliant, especially when considering that it is the architectural backbone of all the builds that are extant in the kingdoms of today. See, whilst the kingdom was destroyed, not all of its population died in the attacks. A lot of them fled to the citadel or took some residence in this Moonrise Tower inspired religious building, and then eventually a large population moved to Drackland. The battle that I will be telling about was set thousands of years before the current timeline of this world. It involved an invading fleet coming from a nation across the oceans and creating catapults and trebuchets and battering rams, all technology that this continent had never seen before. And it was that change in technology that destroyed what was meant to be a once impregnable castle. Their arrogance and complacency being their own defeat. Despite not having any external threats, the kingdom was constantly barraged by storms, revering the thunder to a nigh godly status, building temples to appease what they saw as the sea gods. The invading army with their technology breached through the main gates and through the secondary gates, destroying and setting fire to every building that they could. But as these major buildings were made from an ancient stone material, they were not destroyed, but the majority of the kingdom was. With the use of battering rams, they punched through the doors, made it to the actual castle, the keep. And this is where the majority of their force fell. This was because although the king had understood that his defeat was imminent, he refused for it to be at the hands of his enemy. And so he ordered that his main gates be shut from the inside, trapping everyone within. Whilst the archers on the walls picked off all the invading army, slowly diminishing over the days of battle, the king too ended up dying within alongside his council. Until this day, his halls remain empty, save for the bones of those that were too proud to fall at the hands of their enemy. And as the days passed, this site became a monument to the greatest loss of life this kingdom and this continent had ever seen. The castle itself is comprised of 3 layers, the first being the hall, the second functioning as the housing place for the remains of King Arthur, the first king of this kingdom. The hole in the centre of the castle signifies that lightning will always be at the heart of the build. Next we get to a small balcony that overlooks the rest of the kingdom, being able to see all the subjects that the king rules, and also functioning as a way to scout any possible threats at any part of his kingdom, with there being no concern of having any threat coming from the ocean side, as they believed that their sea gods would protect them. The third and highest level was reserved for the private temple of the king. Although the main castle was the centre point, for those that they believed worthy, they created these massive tomb sites, again burying ancient figures that have been lost to history. The kingdom was made to endure. It was made from stone, from black stone, made from a material that is strong and durable and is not flammable. All that is necessary when there is constant moisture and where lightning strikes are almost always present. I'd like to draw attention to all these pikes positioned on the outside. If we look at what they revered the most, we observe a sea dragon, a serpentine head that is placed throughout their builds. And what it also did unintentionally was funnel all the boats to that small landing area, forcing the attacking force to go either into the castle or into the kingdom that they then ransacked. I mentioned it earlier, but even though the kingdom was abandoned and a vast majority of the population died, it did not mean that people were not able to escape. With their population being too small to rebuild their kingdom, they took refuge for the time in the smaller outskirt cities and villages. And as those too fell due to the weather, they then sought refuge to the citadel. The citadel was never reached by the invading army. It was too far and too well protected to even consider it invading. I talk more in my citadel video about how it was lauded and how it came to fall. And so, to summarise, this once powerful and magnificent kingdom came to fall extremely quickly because of their arrogance and because of their complacency. And although they grew and delved in different architecture and advanced further than anyone had ever before, they are now lost to history, and their builds remain still battling the storm. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you do like the builds, I have a Patreon now where you can download the entire map with all my builds being the same world. If you have enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, it does help with the algorithm. If you have suggestions for future builds, leave them down in the comments below. Subscribe so you don't miss out on future builds. And most importantly, have a good day.